Ultraman 52 here. Welcome to my top 5 favorite kaiju films that are not Gamera or Godzilla. So this is going to be a pretty cool little list, a combination of a lot of monster films from different regions of the world, mainly Japan, but some of you might be surprised they're actually on this list. But without further ado guys, let's start with number 5. So number 5, guys, is actually one that is a truly bizarre kaiju film, and one that's, believe it or not, a spoof or a parody of kaiju films. It's still from Japan, but it is 2008's Monster X Strikes Back, Attack the G8 Summit. So this film is, as I said, it's very much so a parody of kaiju films from literally every genre. Yeah, where do I begin? The story is pretty outlandish, actually. Basically, I've also reviewed this film before on my channel years ago, if you want to look on my channel for that. But anyways, a meteor crash lands on Earth, and that meteor housed the monster Gilala. So now it's up to the members of the G8 Summit, which is basically like, I guess it's like a organization to try and, it's basically a place where all the world leaders or representatives of each nation kind of come together and discuss topics of like how to improve the Earth and all that other jazz and all that crap. And each one of them tries to find a way to kill the monster Gilala, which, speaking of Gilala, this actually is only his second ever movie. Yeah, Gilala first appeared in The X from Outer Space. I don't remember the year when Gilala's first film was actually made, but the English name for it was The X from Outer Space. You can actually watch that film on Max, formerly known as HBO Max. But yes, so again, each member of the G8 Summit tries to kill Gilala with their own methods, and each one fails miserably. And one of them tries to kill Gilala with poisonous gas, but it turns out to be laughing gas, and this scene unfolds very, very, very soon after. Yeah, the monster laughs and does a little dance. Yeah. You might notice one of those dance moves as the Gojira Shei from Invasion of Astro Monster. So the film does pay homages and references to various Godzilla films, as well as Ultraman 2. The film is just incredibly funny as hell. So many of the cast are just over-exaggerations of who they're supposed to be. Like the guy playing the American representative for the USA sounds really bored and tired, like he doesn't want to be there. The man who plays the representative for, I think it's the UK or Britain or whatever, doesn't even sound British at all. He sounds way more American than anything else. And there's even a character that is 100% a parody of Kim Jong-il. It's just so damn funny, and it's a great film. It's a really dumb film, but it's kind of an independent film too, which is why I actually really appreciate it and why I love it so much. It unfortunately is not available on any streaming platform, sadly. It is only available on DVD as far as I know. But in order to get DVD, to get a new copy off Amazon, it's like 20 bucks. And I think 20 bucks is a bit much for a film of this caliber, of how just cheese-fest it is. If you can get it for maybe the highest I'd say I paid for it probably is like 20, but if you can get it lower than that, definitely grab it. But that's all to say. The film is just hilarious as hell, but it's a damn good watch regardless. Highly recommended either way. But yeah, that's number 5, guys. Monster X Strikes Back, Attack the G8 Summit. So number 4, guys, is one that is kind of an iconic film in its own right. It is 1956's Frankenstein vs. Baragon, also known as Frankenstein Conquers the World. Yeah, this is a bit of a weird film because there's actually a lot of history to this film of how it was actually made. The general plot of the film, I should say, first off, is the beginning of the film is actually really, really wild. It begins with, it takes place during World War II, at least the beginning of the film does. The beginning of the film takes place in World War II. Nazis acquire the heart of the Frankenstein monster and deliver it to the Imperial Japanese Navy. They take it to Hiroshima to experiment on, to try to extract, the secrets of immortality. Unfortunately, before the experiments begin, the bomb gets dropped on Hiroshima, and the radiation of the bomb irradiates the heart and ends up growing to this giant Frankenstein monster. And that takes place in the current day of this film, actually, when the Frankenstein monster just grows to it like a huge creature. Not only that, for whatever reason, there's another monster running amok. It's a subterranean monster named Baragon that attacks like an oil refiner, I think it is, or whatever. And Baragon just appears out of nowhere. There's no explanation to why Baragon is even here. There's no explanation to why Baragon exists. My theory is that during the time, I believe there was like nuclear testing going on with Soviet Russia and all that or whatever. And again, I might be wrong on that. Again, this is just my theory or whatever. Nuclear testing going on at the time could have awakened Baragon into sleep from his long slumber. I don't know. I'm just making up a theory here. Don't blame me. But yeah, that's my kind of theory on how Baragon exists, because the film never explains how. But yeah. But basically, the two monsters fight, and yeah. And the one really cool part about the Frankenstein monster is that it's not a man in a suit. It's literally just a guy with prosthetics and makeup, and that's it. It's just a guy in just regular old, I wouldn't say regular clothing, but like kind of like torn up, like animal, like torn up clothing and all that, fighting a man in a rubber suit. That's Baragon, and that's it. It's actually a really cool way to actually do a film without having to do two guys in suits, just one guy in suit. And there's a lot of really interesting trivia with this film. One is that the film actually has an alternate ending where Frankenstein at the end of the film fights a giant octopus. I will not spoil either ending for those who want to see it. But yeah, the alternate ending is Frankenstein fights a giant octopus. For what reason? I don't know. It just happens. The other really cool piece of trivia is that this film actually has a big kind of history to it, of how its original idea became. It originally was going to be King Kong versus Frankenstein. Willis O'Brien, the animator on the original King Kong, wanted to originally make a movie where King Kong fights a monster created by Dr. Frankenstein while they fight in San Francisco. He even commissioned a screenplay for the film and everything. They took the screenplay to RKO Pictures. They didn't want to do it for whatever reason. They took it to Toho. They didn't necessarily want to do it, but they liked the King Kong character, so they used King Kong for King Kong versus Godzilla. They were originally going to do Godzilla versus Frankenstein, but they chose to use King Kong because it was a better kind of marketing idea to have two of the biggest monsters of all time in one movie, which was a great idea. Obviously, look what happened. Obviously. But they still kept elements of the Frankenstein monster in King Kong vs. Godzilla, and that would be the fact that Kong grows stronger with electric voltage, which is never explained why Kong gets stronger through electricity. He just does. It's supposed to be Frankenstein in that role, not Kong, but they kept the idea in there anyways, but whatever. And then, of course, a few years later, they did Frankenstein vs. Baragon, and the rest is pretty much history at that point. But yeah, it's actually a really well done kaiju film. Unfortunately, I don't think there's really any place you can watch it via streaming. You might be able to find it on the archive or whatever, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, archive or whatever. But that's a maybe, really. The only way to get a official release is on DVD. The DVD sadly has been long out of print. I think you can get burn-on-demand copies from Amazon, I think, for like $25-30. But I feel that's kind of expensive for a DVD that's pretty old, from like late 2000s, maybe early 2010s. Just saying, but maybe that's just me. But I highly recommend this film. It's great miniature work. Baragon is one of the most iconic Godzilla monsters in history, well, not unfortunate, but really cool. Unfortunately, he kind of got shafted in later films because his suit was used heavily in the Ultraman series. So by the time they got the suit back for Destroy All Monsters, the suit was very fragile, and they couldn't use it for any others for more than like one scene. So Baragon in Destroy All Monsters was only reduced to a cameo appearance. He was supposed to have more scenes. So all the scenes of the monster Gorosaurus in that film, they were originally supposed to be Baragon, not Gorosaurus. But thanks to Ultraman using the ever-living shit out of that suit, we only got that one small cameo scene of Baragon. But it is what it is. But again, highly recommend it. Frankenstein vs. Baragon, guys. AKA Frankenstein Conquers the World. And without further ado, guys, let's get on to number 3. And number 3, guys, we actually have, believe it or not, the sequel to this movie. We have Frankenstein no Kaiju, Sonda Tai Gaira, which for you English speakers out there, it means Frankenstein's Monsters, Sonda vs. Gaira. Or for those who may still not know the title, you might know it by its English title, The War of the Gargantuas. Oh yes, this film is I will not say direct sequel, it's kind of a semi-sequel to the previous movie. The reason why I say semi-sequel is because it doesn't reference any of the events of the last film. Yeah. It does mention the Frankenstein monster, but there's no mention of Baragon or the events of the previous film. To explain the plot, it's kind of hard. Basically, pieces of the Frankenstein monster were dislodged somehow, and they spawned 2 other monsters. A brown gargantua named Sonda and a green gargantua named Gaira. And the monsters are basically both brothers. One is the good one, one's the bad one. Gaira's the evil one, Sonda's the good gargantua. Sonda is trying to basically keep Gaira out of trouble, but Gaira just basically wants to just eat people and just destroy shit, so the monsters kind of basically fight, and the ending is really random and just goes completely like what the hell. It's a very random like WTF ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's actually really cool. Well, the whole entire film is really cool except for the ending. The ending is just what the hell. But yes, the really cool part also about War of the Gargantuas is that the 2 suit actors, the suit actor that played Gaira, by the way, was Haru Nakajima. He of course played the original Godzilla in several films. He also played Varan, Rodan, and various other kaijus too. He might have also played Baragon too. I'm not 100% sure if he played Baragon though. I think he might have. But anyways, I digress. The suits were actually made of much lighter material, and the head of Sonda and Gaira, they actually were made to where the actors could actually use their actual mouths to open and close the kaiju's mouth. As well, you could actually see their real eyes through the actual eye holes where the eyes would of course be. So they were able to not just do physical acting, but also do acting like facial expressions to show anger, sadness, pain, and it kind of put, I guess, like a whole new layer on how the kaijus acted in the film, if that makes sense, and it made the kaijus feel more real, or more like they were actually like they actually had feeling. And from a technical perspective and aspect, that's fascinating to me personally. I really like that concept. and I wish they would do more with that, but nowadays there's no really great way how to. But it's still a fantastic film. The acting sequences are great. The miniature work is just phenomenal. The cinematography is also great too. Like, I cannot recommend this film enough. I think actually, was it Brad Pitt? I think at one of the Oscars or one of the Academy Awards, Brad Pitt or some actor actually did talk about this film as like one of their favorite films of like all time or whatever. So I think that's kind of cool that a big name actor actually thinks this is one of their favorite films of all time. Also, fun little fact too, there's a series called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Great series, by the way, fantastic series. It's like a reboot to Scooby-Doo, but more darker in tone, which is, again, great. There's an episode called War of the Humongoloids, I think it's called. The whole episode's an homage to this movie, and it's fantastic. They even there's a song in the film called The War that gets stuck on my throat. That song is also present in that episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated as well. So that kind of shows you how iconic and timeless this film is, to have a whole entire episode parody it in Scooby-Doo. Granted, Scooby-Doo, yes, but the fact it's a more darker in tone Scooby-Doo series is still really damn cool. Now, thankfully, this film is available on streaming. It's available on both YouTube for free, with ads, of course. But if you want to watch an ad-free version that's in full HD and all that crap, it is available on Max, formerly known as HBO Max. But be mindful, both versions that they have, for whatever reason, I think it's the international dub of the film, and the audio in that is just muffled. Like, it sounds really muffled for like whatever reason. You can still probably find the DVD of it, but be warned, it is out of print, and it does kind of go for around the $40 to $50 mark. So you find it for a great deal. It's in a double pack with Rodan and War of the Gargantuas. So if you find it, grab it for a great deal. It's a 100% guaranteed banger of a film. The ending, of course, like I said, is a bit weird and just kind of out of nowhere, but it's still great. I highly recommend this film. It is just so damn good. It shows you what you can do with. It kind of shows what kaiju films can be with more than just physical acting, thanks to the fact that you can actually see the actors' eyes and they can move their actual mouths. So, again, great film, highly recommend it. That's number 3, guys, The War of the Gargantuas. Now let's move on to number 2. So number 2, guys, is actually my favorite Ultraman film of all time. It actually was my first ever Ultraman film I watched, and it would be Ultraman Gaia: The Battle in Hyperspace. So this movie was kind of special for me because it was kind of my introduction to the Ultraman, not really to the Ultraman franchise, but the fact that it helped me discover that there were more Ultramen out there besides Ultraman Tiga. And me being, of course, a huge fan of Tiga at the time, I still am, it also introduced the 3 most iconic Heisei Ultramen in the Heisei era, and just of all time in general. Ultraman Gaia, Tiga, and also, Dyna. So, with that being said, the plot is actually kind of interesting, and I actually like it. It takes place in the real world, where Ultraman Gaia is just a TV show. A very old show. And this boy finds this magical red orb that can grant any wish. So he wishes for Ultraman Gaia to be real. He gets transported to the real world, and these 3 bullies get the red orb. I forget the name of the actual name. I think it's just called the red orb or whatever, or the orb. They basically wish for their own monster to be real. And that monster's name is King of Mons. It's supposed to be a play on the words King of Monsters or King of the Monsters, a title held by Godzilla. So it's a nice little reference to Godzilla right there. But King of Mons is actually a fantastically designed kaiju. It's probably one of the best in Ultraman history, in my personal opinion. It also has the ability to spawn 2 other monsters from it. The first is a flying monster named Bajiris, who kind of looks like Gigan, kind of, and a sea monster named Skyla, who is probably out of my... in terms of, like, who's my favorite out of the three, my favorite is hands down King of Mons, but Skyla is a close second because I just like the design. It's not super simple, but it's not, you know, too overly designed. It just looks pretty damn good in my opinion. But of course, Gaia fights all three monsters alone until the boys wish for the power, you know, for Gaia to have more help, which Tiga and Dinah come and help save the day, and all three Ultras fight the monsters and save the day as usual. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. There actually, believe it or not, is actually a novel. I said actually twice, I'm sorry. But there is in fact a novel that actually is that is a sequel to the movie. It is called Ultraman Gaia. In fact, I think it's called Tiga, Dinah, and Ultraman Gaia: The Adventure in Hyperspace. It takes place about 20 to 30 years after the events of the movie, where the three bullies that created King of Mons, they've grown up, they've matured, they have their own jobs, they have their own lives, and they come in contact with the Red Orb again, and they actually are trying to save the world from this evil sculptor who gets the orb and creates his own monster named King Gilares. I think it's named King Gilares the 13th, which, by the way, King Gilares is a pretty cool design kaiju. I really hope that eventually, in the future Ultraman products, maybe in the future that Super Eye does, we might see him become a real thing, because he looks damn cool. Kind of reminds me of Neo Gemos from Ultraman Dyna a little bit, but maybe that's just me, I don't know. But the three bullies use the Red Orb to summon King of Mons again to battle King Gilares. Unfortunately, King of Mons gets easily overpowered by Gilares and gets killed pretty easily. So the boys use the orb to summon Tiga, Dinah, and Gaia again to help save the world again as usual. But it's a fantastic film. I think there is actually a way you can watch this film. I believe it's on Tubi, because Tubi, I think, is getting all the Ultraman series that Shout Factory, that Mill Creek has been releasing. It is available, of course, on the Ultraman Gaia Complete Series set, which is available on DVD, which I think for about like 20-25 bucks, I think it is. It is highly recommend buying all the Tiga, Dinah, and Gaia DVD sets, by the way. They're all fantastic. But again, phenomenal, great monster designs, great action, very good cinematography, very good fight scenes. Nothing too special about it, but it's one of the more popular Ultraman films. There also is an English dub for the movie as well. There is an old DVD that was released, I think, like in the mid-2000s, I want to say, that had an English dub in it, like I said, but the English dub was pretty hilariously bad. I do not think the new DVD set has the dub on it. I don't think it does. But I've been meaning to track down the old DVD for quite a while, only because, like, I'm pretty sure that the new DVD set, does not have the English dub on it. So I've been trying to track it down. Thankfully, the old DVD is pretty cheap. You can find it for about 20-25 bucks at most, which isn't crazy overpriced. But if you want to watch it, then yeah, that's probably the only way to actually get it, is buy the old DVD. But yeah, still, I do highly recommend Gaia: The Battle in Hyperspace. It's a great film, a lot of fun, a lot of great action. Pretty cool story, in my opinion. I don't know. But yeah, that's number 2, Ultraman Gaia: The Battle in Hyperspace. So let's finally move on, guys, to number 1. At number 1, guys, we have a film that I think really defines the word classic, iconic, and groundbreaking and genre defying, and that film is 1953's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Without this film, there honestly would be no Kaiju. There would be no Tokusatsu. There would in fact be no Godzilla. Because this is the film that inspired the original Godzilla. This film debuted a mere 16 months before the original Godzilla stomped onto the scene. And this shows, without this film, there really would be no Godzilla. There would be no Gamera, Ultraman. There probably wouldn't even be Super Sentai or even possibly Kamen Rider. We owe all of Tokusatsu to this film. It inspired a generation of kaiju for years to come. And yes, King Kong was there to kind of lay the the groundwork for it, but without the beast from 20,000 Fathoms, we wouldn't have the iconic giant monster genre we would have now. We just wouldn't have it. For a general synopsis of the plot, nuclear tests in Antarctica unleash the Rhedosaurus or the Rotosaurus, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's one of the two ways to pronounce it, onto the world, and it runs amok in New York City. Very 50s movie plot, 50s giant monster plot really, but it works. It works for the time, but it's a timeless classic film. In my personal opinion, this is three things. One, it's one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. Two, it's one of the greatest giant monster films ever made. And three, it is easily, in my opinion, one of the greatest films of all time because, for one, just the cinematography is amazing. The special effects on stop motion is just godlike. Action, the action is great. Pacing is great. Just everything about this film is just damn good. Like, seriously, even some of the stuff that got unused, like this shot here of the Rhedosaurus kind of like roaring while you have the tail kind of like swiping, like in front of it. That's my favorite shot. And plus, like, if you watch the film with the Rhedosaurus like walking, past the buildings and like the shadows and the light move on the actual body, it just really makes me want to know how they did that, And again, it's all by stop motion animation. Stop motion animation is a freaking pain in the ass to do. So I can only imagine, how long this film took to make and just how long it took for just one scene to actually do. And there's actually a model kit of the Rhedosaurus that I kind of want to get, but it's like $130-ish, $150-ish bucks. But it's a vinyl kit, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want it because like this thing is damn cool. I love the Rhedosaurus. It's just so freaking cool. It's an iconic monster. It really, really is. The other thing too, which if you kind of think about it, the 1998 Godzilla, the one, the TriStar one, which is in New York. If you think about it, the TriStar Godzilla is technically a remake of the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, because it's definitely not any Godzilla film. Because if you look at the 1998 Godzilla, the film is actually pretty fun to watch if you take the name Godzilla and just throw it out the damn window. It more so lines up with the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms than it does Godzilla. Then again, considering that as a remake to the Beast is kind of insulting, because even then it just kind of should be its own film. The Beast is just that good of a film to where it doesn't need a remake. It's just that good. There's actually a lot of like original concepts that actually didn't get used, like in the original poster for the Beast. You can see that flames were shooting out of his nostrils. That actually was something that was supposed to happen in the film, but due to budget constraints, they had to cut that idea. In fact, the Beast shooting out like atomic flames, that was actually the inspiration for Godzilla's atomic breath. Just the poster of him shooting out like flames from his nostrils, just that poster inspired Godzilla's atomic breath. Again, this thing is an influential movie, no matter how you want to look at it. I cannot praise it enough. This thing is actually available on a lot of platforms for streaming wise, of course, also on DVD and Blu-ray. But I believe every platform that has it, you have to, of course, buy it or rent it. Obviously, I still say it's 100%, buy and or rent. In fact, just buy the damn thing because it's just that good of a film. yeah, I could go on for hours about why this film is so great. Maybe eventually I'll do a review on it, but I'm not really a review channel, to be honest with you. But yeah, again, there's just so much about this thing that is just great. It's a great film. If you can find it for a great deal on DVD or Blu-ray, please grab it. There is apparently a colored version of the film. I have seen it. It looks great, but I still personally prefer watch the original black and white version because it's just how the film was meant to kind of be. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't know. But yes, that's it, guys. That's it for my top 5 favorite kaiju films of all time that are non-Gamera or Godzilla. Number 1 was The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Again, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. This was kind of one that took me a while to actually do because I had to actually like look up a lot of trivia on each film, and it took a lot more research to do for each film than I actually thought, and it was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Editing this was actually kind of a bitch to do too. Just saying. But yeah, it was definitely well worth it, guys. It was well worth it. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below of what you guys thought. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do next for my videos wise. I might do my top 5 favorite Gamera films because there's realistically only 5 good Gamera films. Kinda. I don't know. Who knows? I might even do a video on all my out of print and rare Kaiju DVDs and Blu-rays. Maybe kind of like give people some tips on like, you know, hey, if you see these films, grab them because they're out of print, obviously, and worth some damn money. But yeah, I might even do a video on how to really get into Kaiju, like a beginner's guide to Kaiju. But for that, I'm gonna have to do a lot more research and probably need some help from other people to actually how to actually do that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Again, thumbs up the video. Leave a comment down below, subscribe, hit that bell. You guys all know that good jazz. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, or X now, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter because I freaking want to. But anyways, yes. Hope you guys all enjoyed. And sign.